Hi, I'm Dr. Chip Bennett. This is Dr. Warren Gage, and we are discussing comedy in the Christian life. As we've been discussing, Warren, again, many people don't understand the idea of comedy in terms of a literary device. They think of comedy as ha-ha, funny, sitcom. Comedy is going from low to high. Tragedy is going from high to low. So comedy is the opposite of tragedy. And as we talk about living out this life of Christianity in the idea of the comedic lens, I think of James. James chapter 1, he says this really interesting passage in verse 3. He says, "Consider it joy when you fall into various trials." That's ridiculous. Would you agree?
It's on the surface. It sounds ridiculous.
It does.
Yeah, it's hard to live that out.
That's
actually.
right. You know, so when I read James and I see he's writing to a group of people that have been scattered, they're going through a difficult time. A lot of people are trying to understand what it means to be a Christian and live this out. James writes to them and he gives them the wonderful comedic trajectory of when you fall into various trials, consider it joy. And the reason that you can is because God's working in your life. And you know as a Christian that if you are at the low place, God will eventually raise you up to the high place. We talk about that in terms of suffering and glory. That if you understand the suffering of Christ, you will understand the glory. And that suffering is always followed by glory. I think that is such a key thing to know as a Christian, the rhythm, as we call it, of the Christian life, that suffering leads to glory. Don't you think that's imperative for a Christian to understand?
God always promises that there's glory after suffering.
Yes.
You can't have glory, though, without the suffering.
That's exactly right.
Jesus experienced the cross. There was an open tomb. There was resurrection.
That's right.
But only after the cross. You can't have the open tomb. You can't have resurrection unless there's
That's
death.
right. And I think that we, especially we here in America, when we read the passages of glory, we like it. I mean, who doesn't really?
We want to go there.
Absolutely. Jesus is feeding the 5,000, we're in. He's walking on the water, we're in. He's touching somebody with blind eyes, we're in. But then when he says a hard word, or he says take up a cross, or he goes to Gethsemane and it's time to pray when you're tired, that tends to be something that we don't understand very well because we as a generation, especially here in America, we don't understand comedy. We don't understand that low goes to high. If we understand in the midst of suffering, God will always bring out glory, it gives us the ability, like James, on the surface, to count it joy when you fall into trials, which seems ridiculous. If you understand comedy, that passage makes a huge amount of sense. You actually can count it joy when you fall into different trials because you know that eventually God will work in you and conform you and bring you to the place that He wants you to be. Well, we hope you've enjoyed, again, this session on comedy and the Christian life, and we hope that it's making a difference in your life as well.